This episode of The Seminarian is sponsored by Asbury Theological Seminary. Hey guys, and welcome to The Seminarian, where we talk about seminary life, theology, and the things that form us as Christians. I'm Josh, and today we have the incredible honor of speaking with Dr. Timothy Tennent, who recently retired as the president of Asbury Theological Seminary, my school. After 15 years of transformative and fruitful leadership, Dr. Tennent has been a guiding force at Asbury, leading the seminary through its centennial celebration and the largest comprehensive campaign in its history. His tenure is marked by a deep commitment to expanding global partnerships, pioneering hybrid education, and founding impactful initiatives like Seedbed Publishing and the New Room Conference. He is an accomplished author, particularly in the missiological space, with works such as Theology in the Context of World Christianity and Invitation to World Missions. But Dr. Tennent, you've also written about the theology of sexuality, some things on Christian foundations and formation. But today we're not here just to talk about his academic and administrative accomplishments, though we will. We're also diving into stories behind the milestones, the challenges, the triumphs of his time as president, and what lies ahead as he transitions into his new role as professor of world Christianity. So you're in for a treat as we have an insightful conversation with the man who has inspired countless students, faculty, and theologians around the world. Dr. Timothy Tennent, welcome to The Seminarian.
Thank you, Josh. It's great being here.
Awesome. Well, you just retired as the president of Asbury Theological Seminary. I think the celebration was, last month or so. Is that correct?
That's true. Yeah, June 30th was my last day, and we have a June 8th May 8th celebration. Yes.
Wow, that's so awesome. And I just want to thank you as a student who got to be just for a brief stint, just 1 year in seminary, but just under your leadership. Yeah, it's been wonderful being a hybrid and global student myself. And I know that's a byproduct of some of the work that you put in. But I just wanted to ask briefly, can you give a snapshot of what Asbury Seminary was like before you became president in 2009? And I don't mean that pejoratively, but I'm just looking for kind of that before and after effect of your time as president.
Well, yeah, I want to say, Josh, first of all, that there's things about Asbury that have been true for 100 years. That I think is part of the strength of Asbury. Some things are commitment to the authority of Scripture, the centrality of Christ, the call to holiness, the global vision,
Mm,
have been a part of Asbury for its history. But it's true that I came in 2009, and you would call it 2008, there was a major economic collapse across the country that dramatically affected all institutions, including Asbury. So our endowment was below water, which means we couldn't disperse our endowment. We'd had several years of declining enrollments. We had housing that was really embarrassing. There were just challenges. I mean, there's no question we learned a notation from the accrediting body over some issues. So, yeah, I came into a situation that was challenging. But beneath all of that challenge, I want to just repeat the fact that Asbury was always still Asbury. It was a great strength and solidity to Asbury, which was always been there. But yeah, they were facing some big challenges.
yeah. Wow. And so, if I'm correct, the hybrid model that didn't exist before. I know that, like you were saying, enrollment was a lot less than it is now. But part of that solution that you led the school through was more of the global initiative and the hybrid model. Is that about right?
That's correct. That's correct. We actually, we're trying to look at part of any successful strategic thinking about a school like Asbury is to say, what is your value proposition? What can we offer others don't offer? And I think that at the time that we were asked those questions, the country was pretty well divided between people, residential education and online education. And so we were one of the first that actually pioneered the true hybrid model, which allows them to do a bit of the work online, but also come in for formative face-to-face experience with professors and other students. And we did it, to be honest with you, we actually launched it as a 3-year pilot idea.
Hmm.
I presented the faculty and said, what would you say if we tried this for 3 years? Because we didn't really know if there'd be much response or how to respond to. The faculty graciously said, yes, let's give it a 3-year trial. And to our own amazement and the grace of God, it exploded.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of movement, not only from like new students who joined there, but even people that were in TLO1 preferred the hybrid. So the hybrid for a number of years was our fastest growing programs. And so, yeah, it was an exciting point. And one of the great things that transformed Asbury was hybrid education, which was then eventually, maybe 7 years later, we actually joined hybrid with our sites and created Asbury Global, because
Mm.
we were slowly developing sites too. So that's where Colorado got brought into the hybrid education piece. All of our sites eventually turned into hybrid education format.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I was like you on the mission field for a while, and I'd always wanted to do seminary. And when we came back from the mission field, I drove by the place where the Colorado site, and I saw the sign for Asbury Theological Seminary there, and so I ended up getting an apartment, my family and I, within walking distance of the site
Which,
there, and it's just been awesome because I'm married with 5 children. I work full time, and the flexibility of online is great. I love that, but being able to actually meet professors, go into a class is a game changer. It makes me wish that I was on campus there at Wilmore a lot more, but it is a huge blessing, and so it's no surprise to me that things blew up, and now I think global students are outpacing. The attendance for global students is more than what's in person, and I don't know the numbers for hybrid, but I'd imagine it's pretty high as well.
I know it is amazing that now we have more students not in Wilmore than in Wilmore, which is like surprising, but
That's amazing.
we have sites, of course, as you know, in Orlando, Tampa, Memphis, Colorado Springs, and Tulsa. A little new and that's a large in New York. And so those sites have really grown, and they now represent the large, collectively they're larger than Wilmore. So it is remarkable. It's something that we didn't really fully anticipate, but now we're offering over 100 chapels every year outside of Wilmore.
Wow.
Well, we're trying to continually increasing kind of what it means to have an Asbury experience. And one of the early points that we made was that we didn't want to use adjuncts for our sites and create kind of like you know, a, like an A team and a B team, So all of our regular faculty go to the sites. They love going to Colorado Springs. They love going to Memphis. They love all that. So if you're in Colorado Springs, for example, or Memphis or Tulsa, whatever, you actually get the same professors that you get in Wilmore. Well, that to me is another unique part of our model. We don't use adjuncts, and we use adjuncts around all of our systems some, but the majority of your classes in all our sites for Wilmore are by our regular main faculty.
Yeah, I was able to get lunch with a few of the professors, Professor Donjel and Professor McCall, and it was wonderful. I felt like, hey, I really am an Asbury seminarian, instead of this, you were saying, this second citizen kind of outer ring, which has been great. And you guys do a wonderful job of including the chapels. Like, for instance, your celebration of presidency, I tuned in on that online. And so I just, yeah, I want to thank you for including all of us. I did want to ask, what do you consider to be I mean, 15 years of presidency in one of the world's largest graduate schools? What are some of the most significant moments or accomplishments during your time as president?
Well, I want to say first of all that the most important accomplishment, to use that term for any president, is a place like Asbury is to maintain the founding mission, prove the authority of Scripture, the centrality of Christ, the call to holiness, the global vision. To me, those are really bedrock things that I'm very proud that we've strengthened those, that those are really still very much part of the Asbury experience. But there are also things that happen just by virtue of the time that we lived. And so when I got here in '09, what was also happening was that some around the country were selling, residential housing. That was a very common thing.
Hmm.
Going condos, sold their housing, forwards sold their housing. I could go down the line. A lot of the major seminaries were selling their housing. So we decided that if we were to, zig, when the rich is going zag, we have to create a value proposition for us and really confirm Asbury as the place to come for residential education. So we built, a huge phase, called Residential Renaissance. We built 27 buildings over there for housing. It was a big project,
Wow.
millions of dollars. The Lord provided donors for all of it. And I remember our trustees said, well, what do we do if they don't come, Um, and it was a risk. But in fact, we had eventually 30 families on the waiting list. So then we go to phase 2 of it.
Yeah.
So eventually it resulted in new single housing, new married housing, two parts of married housing. And it was just a complete renaissance of our residential education when other institutions were going another direction. So I feel really proud about that. It's one of the things I think will go down as was one of the big decisions of this time frame to raise our hand and say we want to still be in the residential business. Again, nothing against the hybrid initially, but we feel like the hybrid actually works better if it's built on the foundation of a residential base somewhere in the country. So
Yeah.
unless those two things feed each other. And so that was one of the big, early presidency, we spent a lot of time on those projects. And but later on, of course, the launch of Seedbed, you mentioned Seedbed and New Room in your introduction. Obviously, that was a major development for us, and we're very proud of that because now it's become its own subsidiary. It's doing very well, and it's just a major influence in Wesleyan Christianity. So, and I have so many memories, Josh, and I could not think of the knowledge of just on Seedbed, or just like critical moments where Seedbed should have been, allowed to die. We know we're going to just double down. We just believe in this vision. There were just so many times when it was just like, I trustee, like, what are you doing? No, we're going to just keep on. I just believe in this vision, and I had a great team, and for Seedbed today, it's flourishing the way it is. I just feel so proud because there was so many challenges getting it launched,
Wow.
over the years. From 2000, we launched it January 6, 2012, but it was really about 2016, 17 before it really built the launch pad, and those are some tough years in there.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I just bought a couple weeks ago a book from Seedbed Publishing because I come from a non-denominational background. And that's very nondescript, honestly. I'm kind of trying to figure out what we believe sometimes, but I was looking into more Wesleyan theology, getting ready for some of those classes. And so I bought a book from Seedbed, and that's been helpful, honestly, in trying to give me an introduction to Wesleyan theology. Man, okay, you talked about challenges. Man, I any leader, and especially as you kind of go up in scale and complexities, is going to deal with pretty significant challenges. What have been some of the more challenging aspects of being the president at Asbury Theological Seminary?
I think the biggest challenge that we face is probably just the downward pressure, on college education. There's just a lot of downward pressures on it in terms of there's less students demographically that are that age. We have very few churches actually require Master of Divinity type degrees.
Hmm.
They'll just, if you look at the gap between the cost of like the CPI, the consumer price index over the last 15 years and the cost of education in the country, the gap is getting wider and wider, which means that for the average student, the cost of education is getting even more and more. So Asbury's had to work doubly hard about scholarships in order to maintain the balance because it's just really, really challenging. So I think just the kind of complexity of it with multiple sites, with multiple delivery methods, obviously overseeing Seedbed, New Room as well. It's been challenging just to kind of like 27 parts to Asbury.
Oh my
You have
God.
to kind of, every part has to connect,
Yeah.
and so the other part, every part's important, but if you're working with part 13, and I make a decision based on a lot of big picture things, and I understand why, you may feel like it was negative to 13, but it's something that is part of the big picture. So part of my job, and unfortunately in our system, the only person who understands how all the 27 parts work
Wow.
together is the
Yeah.
president. because we have a system of vice presidents over different areas. And so it means that I do have to make decisions that are not always easy. And that's part of leadership. And it's exciting. It's also challenging.
So it's like spinning plates, 27 plates, but also the plates
Yeah.
are tied together and you affect one and it might cause another one not to come crashing down, but like you said, just offers challenges. Well, again, we want to thank you for bearing all of those challenges. And it seems, I mean, again, when I just became a seminarian, just last year was my first semester, fall of 2023, and it just seems like the doors were wide open. The carpet was rolled out for me, and that you got an incredible thing. Proud to be with Asbury, and yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot that is unseen and unknown. No one will ever know the challenges that you bore, but you and your team. And so really appreciate that. And then I'm thinking about these very stark, glorious moments, if you will. I had heard about, for instance, the Asbury revival on the mission field. I was in Southeast Asia serving,
Wow.
and I had seen some Facebook clips, and friends were texting me, "Oh my gosh, did you hear what's happening in Asbury?" And Asbury was already on my radar because of the faculty and some of the graduates that I knew. But that is an incredible moment, And I come from more charismatic circles, actually, and sometimes there's a little bit of revival hunting or revival inciting that happens. And so, I always kind of, not that I despise those things. I'm very open and hopeful about those things, but you just wonder about the authenticity. But I'm over there thousands of miles away and hearing that everybody's flocking over to Asbury. And that was incredible. I mean, that was during your time as
It
president.
was.
It certainly was a draw for me to kind of solidify that decision to study at Asbury. Can you talk a little bit about being the president of Asbury during a revival?
Well, yeah, it was a remarkable 16-day period. And you're right. The first few days we weren't sure like how much it would explode out, and people call it the first kind of social media driven revival because students were putting on social media what was happening, and so it was instantly become shared around the country, the world. And so the number of people in the city started rising dramatically, 10,000, 20,000, thirty
Oh my
thousand,
gosh.
40, 50, 60, 70,000 people. So it was overwhelming because it's a very small little town. And so, the front story about the whole thing was that I was there at the altar every night and during the day for literally hours every single day. And I saw, firsthand the transformation of God and the Spirit of God coming down on people.
Praise
And
God.
I had
Wow.
so many memories of people who came to the altar and I said, "How can I serve you?" And they shared, burdens that are beyond belief, that were left at the altar. Well, we didn't know. We didn't let actually the cameras take pictures of the altar. So they took when they saw social media, mostly worshiping students, etc. But I tell you, the real power was at the altar. But also there was behind the scenes. It was just the logistics to revival I never had even dreamed of. Like, how do you get food? How do you get water? Nobody wanted to go to line.
Bathrooms or yeah.
So we had, food trucks and water. And we had, of course, five venues open on our side of the street. And so we had a gymnasium full, a cafeteria, all of the chapels, etc. And so we had to have prayer teams. We had to have quarter potties. We had, you just cannot imagine the details that we had to work out. And there was just a lot of technological things. So I have a lot of memories of like kind of behind the scenes, like how can we best support this? But it was just like it was as if you suddenly had like a Billy Graham revival.
Wow.
They spent a year preparing for it. It's like we had it all in 16 days, and it just showed up one day. We had no preparation. We were just making up as we went along. It
Wow.
was really remarkable.
That was a lot of that. I mean, people are you don't have a plan or a program for a revival. And so you're being confronted with problems and challenge not problems. I mean, it's good problems to have. But did that come to your desk kind of like, Dr. Tennant, what do we do? Was it that kind of a dynamic or was it kind of shouldered as a team?
But there was a team that was made up of the president of the university and myself and the student. VP of Student Services of the university. And then my seedbed team, we had seedbed New Room here. Well, David Thomas, who you might know, but he works for our New Room in Renewal, and he had done his PhD on the Bible. He was a great presence to have on the team
Wow.
because he had kind of a historical perspective. So this team met every day and they made decisions together as a team. So there wasn't a lot of, Dr. Tennent, what do we do? It was like, what should we do as a group?
Mm.
And we were trying to support this college. And eventually we had more people over here than over there. They only opened one venue. So it was a joint effort on both sides of the street. And I'm very, I was there at those meetings. I wanted to say that my impression, deep impression after spending many, many hours with that group of people was that everybody in the room, even though we didn't always agree on things, there was a godliness and a real earnestness to do what was right. And so it were just great, holy conversations about things that really mattered. And we had good conversation on things where we had different views about certain things, but we always came to a like mind. Even decided to stop it on this place 16. There was a point where we didn't agree about that. We made a lot of plans how to extend it. But then the Lord really brought us to a common view that we should end on that Thursday night. So, I can just see God's hand in that group. And it was one of the things about that time about cherish, that's a private memory, more than a public memory.
Wow. My goodness. And then, okay, do you feel like I feel like I'm asking three things at once, but the revival, the centennial celebration, and your resignation as president, are any of those things related?
Well, of course, we had no way of knowing that the revival, the awakening would happen during the centennial. So that was like God's gift to us. That's my resignation or my transition out of the office. We actually realized this, but we've been working on a strategic plan since 2010. I got in 09 that went to 2023. So we were unfolding a lot of big changes to transform Asbury. So we had 23 major goals that we were pursuing. So it was at the fall of 2022, on September 7th, actually, that the trust was officially certified that we had completed all the initiatives on the strategic plan.
Wow.
So I wanted to stay for the centennial, of course, because that was a big thing for us. But I felt like at that point, I either needed to stay for 10 more years
Hmm.
and do the next plan or leave, and turn out somebody else. And so I guess in some ways they are all related in the sense that, God, a lot of things were just culminate in our 100th anniversary. So I decided to transition, but that came through through prayers with the direction. I wasn't sure about that, but at some point I realized in 2023 the Lord was going to call us to another ministry. So yeah, I don't know. It did. It's amazing how it all happened in one year, but
Yeah.
I think that's how it
No
happened.
doubt. Grand
I think it's more providence
Lord,
than
all glory
planning.
to him. But yeah, that's pretty extraordinary. Again, that was the semester that I first enrolled at Asbury, and it's like, whoa, fireworks!
Yeah, right.
Just everything is happening over at Asbury, which is great. Well, what do you see as you're ending your time? I mean, I'm looking right now at your office, and it looks like your bookshelves are bare. So you're transitioning out of the office. What do you see as the future of Asbury Theological Seminary? What can we kind of expect? Again, it's all the Lord's leading and guiding in that, but things that you see for the future.
Well, I do. I think that Asbury, our founding motto, as you probably know, is the whole Bible for the whole world.
Mhm.
And I think it's remarkable that H.C. Larson, our founder, actually established as a motto when he had three students. I think I would have said like the whole Bible for the whole of Kentucky or something, but he had the vision for a global ministry. And so I do think the future of Asbury is continuing to grow globally, because what you may not realize is that the site work that we did in Memphis and Colorado Springs and Orlando and Tulsa, et cetera, that was actually a pilot in itself to say, how can we deliver education in remote locations? So how do we can effectively do higher education around the world even?
Wow.
So what we've done is we've learned a lot of lessons from higher education. So okay, can we repeat it or replicate it? And so now we've launched a site in Bangalore, India, and in London,
Praise God.
and we have new sites coming up in Melbourne, Australia, as well as I mentioned Colombia, not many Colombia. So because of that, these new sites around the world, we're learning new ways to deliver education. And so I think, like in your time, when we first came to Asbury around the renewal time, that's when we actually passed students that were outside of Wilmore than in Wilmore. But I think in another decade, I think the future of Asbury will be more students outside the U.S. than in the U.S. I
Wow.
think that's what the future of Asbury is, a global delivery model that includes the whole of North America, but also around the world. And I think if that happens, Asbury, I think, will have fulfilled its founding promise to the whole Bible for the whole world.
That's amazing. I mean, truly, not just in token, kind of carrying the vision from the very beginning, but aggressively finding ways to truly, yeah, accomplish that mission, which is so admirable. That's awesome. Well, what about your future? What is you are transitioning from president to professor of world Christianity. What are you most looking forward to in your new role?
Well, one of these when I came here, I feel like it's always important to stay in touch with students because I often say about Asbury that our mission is to grow fruit on other people's trees.
Mm.
We don't make a widget. We don't we invest in people, and they go out and they transform the world through ministries and churches and other kinds of ministries that they're involved in. So in my mind, it's easy to forget about students when you're involved in, budgets and accreditation issues and all kinds of these 27 parts of Asbury and, you know, different kind of delivery models and all the rest. You can at times like lose touch with students. And I love students. I love the passion. I love the optimism. I love their desire to change the world. Even when students get upset and want to like protest, I'm always like, there's a part of me is like, yeah, I love that about students because they believe things can change. And that's a
Awesome.
great
Yeah.
thing about young people. And so I just feel like when I came here, I said to the trustees, I want to teach one class every semester anyway. And so I've been doing that all these years. I teach just one master's class, one semester in a doctoral seminar, another semester. And so I have enough experience still in the classroom to remember how much I longed and enjoyed that part of my life. And so
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to spending more time with students. And when I interview professors, and I go back in their life, I say, like, what brought you to where you are today? They often tell me it was because of professors that took extra time with them or cared
Yeah.
for them or mentored them in some way. So the opportunity to go back and teach the courses I teach, which are world Muslims courses, theology, Muslims, world religions. My degrees are in Hinduism and Islam. I just love working with students in those areas. And so I'm looking forward to that, both doctoral students as well as master's students. I'm looking forward to very much being back into that mode because that's what's been a lot of my earlier in my life. And so I just think this is a time for me to return to that.
Yeah. And I mean, you're not that's not slacking off either. You're talking about teaching a ton and getting right back into the front lines of things. I mean, it's out of the frying pan into the fire. So, oh man, I hope I get a class with you. That would be awesome. So that's great.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Well,
Well, heck, I'm doing one in Tulsa next semester. So I'm starting to do one of the sites, but I have actually never taught a course in Colorado Springs. So I should do that.
please, we
In fact,
beautiful out here. We will show you a good time. What would you give as advice to someone who is just starting their seminary journey, looking at this bright future for Asbury and just Christian education as a whole, whether they're at ATS or a different school? What kind of advice would you give to someone who's just beginning that career?
I think I would just, I was in seminary in the early 80s, 1983, and there's no way when I was in seminary I could have anticipated the challenges that we face today.
Hmm.
So I think, therefore, it's a bit of a optimism to think you can come to seminary and like get the tools you need in order to like address this or that issue, because the
Hmm.
world has changed it so rapidly. So to me, the purpose of seminary is to provide the building blocks and the foundation, which then gives you the ability to apply it to new situations, new questions that we hadn't even thought of yet. When think about AI, AI alone
Yeah.
is going to there's an avalanche of new issues, of morally and theologically,
Oh, yeah.
and opportunities, frankly, as well, that are I can't even imagine yet. It's like someone asked about the internet before the internet. You don't even know the questions to ask, and so
Right.
AI is like another, like a new internet. So in some way, I feel like that the best advice I would give any new student would just say, focus on, historical theological studies, focus on church history, focus
Mm.
on difficult languages. I mean, all the stuff you really can't get later on. Get the foundation laid. I'm looking back on my seminary career. I am so thankful that I had a big lift from classical education,
Mm.
because that laid the foundation, which then I could supplement, and add other things and learn new things my whole life. But I had that foundation. And I think we all sort of too quickly want to get the solutions rather than focusing on kind of the foundation. So I would tell students, don't get too focused on the kind of pragmatic side. Take time, even though it's hard and arduous, take time building a good theological, historical foundation.
Oh, that's excellent. So, what I hear you saying in that is because times are changing so radically, because, flavor of the week theologically or just pragmatically might vary, that the best thing someone could do is focus on those things that are unchanging and that are going to be deeply formative so that the man and woman of God can be equipped and all of those other assets or those aspects rather are going to benefit from that classical education. I love that. That's really great.
Well, I also think it's important to not let your intellectual journey outstrip your formational journey in other ways. Like I think your journey in prayer, your journey like my wife and I uh, started in one point in our lives, started singing the Psalms. Everyone got early in the morning, we sing a psalm every morning.
Wow.
We do that every single day. And it doesn't matter if I'm traveling, I'm outside of the world. We always call and sing psalm every day.
Oh my gosh.
And for us, it's been like really formative in my prayer life, my walk with the Lord. At the end of the day, the purpose of our lives, your life is union with Christ. And therefore, that part God uses all kinds of ways to have that happen. In my case, He used the presidency of Asbury to help me to grow. But I do think that you don't want to focus just on intellectual growth, as important as that is. That's also really important, but to also focus on your whole life before God and before Christ.
That's awesome. And I think that so far, my education in Asbury has certainly led me that way. I love that our hybrid courses always have a chapel in them, and that, worship, prayer, fellowship, these things are being emphasized. And it's not just, hey, come hear this great professor give lectures, but they're in the chapel there with you, worshiping the Savior. And so, yeah, I have just so appreciated all the work that you and your team have put in. And like I said, I'm really excited for this next season of your life. And I hope to, maybe I'll go out there to Tulsa or you can come to Colorado Springs with us. But again, I just wanted to say, I know I'm probably the last person to say that because I've only been with Asbury for a year now, but well done. Thank you so much for all of your labor, your prayer, your sacrifice. There's myself and countless others that are beneficiaries to that.
Well, thank you. I wanted to say back to you that the reason that we do all this, the reason we do it with joy is because of people like you, because you are the foot of the ministry. I don't know if you ever do come to Wilmore, but there's a wonderful uh, place in Wilmore, and it's called Alumni Hall.
Mm.
And it's beautifully, it's like museum quality decorated. We raise money to do it real right, hire really high professionals. And you go in this room and you're exposed to all the ministries of our alumni around the world. And
Wow.
then on the right-hand side of it, there is this beautiful display. It's like the Vietnam Memorial, where you value the name of every person. In this case, it's the name of every graduate in the history of the school,
Oh,
1923 and present. And so people from all over the world come here and they go and find their name on the wall. And someday, when you graduate, you find your name on the wall. And it's a great thing. You see yourself in continuity with all that come before you. Well, just in my time at Asbury, we graduated 4,500 new graduates. There's
wow.
12,000 live, there's 14,000 graduating since we started. But it's unbelievable to be a part of that stream and to see, your place in in kind of the great history of Asbury. And I encourage all alumni to come by and see Alumni Hall. It's a great part of the seminary. We just opened during our centennial year, we opened it.
Wow. Okay. So that's going to be extra incentive for me when I've got a really hard project or something that's due. I'm like, I got to get my name on that wall. That's
You
awesome.
come and I'll give you a personal tour.
All right. I'm going to hold you up on that. No, I was supposed to take a summer class this semester, but after this past semester, I was like, oh, I'm going to take a break. But in the fall, I think I'll be there at Wilmore. So that's awesome. Well, I just
All right,
want,
let you know.
I wanted to thank you so much for your time today. And again, I hope you feel celebrated. I hear that you still have a lot of plans actually traveling the world and that you're going to end your presidency in Taiwan. Is that right? Visiting a partner
That's
school?
correct. Yes, so we're doing partnership for developing is in Taipei, and so I've been there before multiple times, and so I'm going back, actually spend the last half of June, which is the end of my presidency, in Taipei.
Mm.
So yes, I'm excited. I guess it's appropriate. They were a little bit worried when I canceled. I said no, I should finish it and stay on my schedule. So I'll finish my presidency in Taipei, and I'll come back as a professor here at the seminary.
Well done. And I just hope that that whole time you feel the Lord's pleasure upon you for all of your faithfulness and ultimately the Lord's faithfulness through you. But thanks for coming on The Seminarian. For our listeners, we'd love for you to comment, maybe shout out some of your favorite aspects of the last 15 years during Dr. Tennent's presidency. Let us know on Facebook or Instagram of this post. Make sure to subscribe. And if you found this useful, tell a friend about it. But until next time, thanks so much for joining the conversation.